Hello, Father Andrew here. Before I actually go into the updates on how the homeless shelter has changed, some of you suggested putting a tarp on it, and I checked with the landowners. I'm not allowed to do that. I'm only allowed to use natural things such as sticks, leaves, branches, etc. But anyway, now to talk about the updates on the shelter. First thing is I've had to do maintenance. The front rightmost wall of the entrance, I collected a large amount of big thick branches that had broken off and fallen off trees. I snapped them and cut them down into the right shape, and then I proceeded to prop up the front with it so that the front wouldn't sag any further. The weight and pressure from the front of the structure bearing down on those cut branches pushes them into the dirt and locks them in place, meaning that they are now supporting the structure using its own weight. And I also included cross branches that weave between them so that if the actual wood of the structure gets wet from rain or snow, the pressure is divided across those front branches, stopping the structure from collapsing. And all of these front supports are built off a living tree on the very left side. Well, if you look at the photos and pictures, you have the entrance you go through. On the very right side of that entrance is the living tree, but that tree is on the left of all the supports. But essentially, that living tree is providing extra support, and the branches of the tree above are also providing protection from wind, rain and snow, reducing the maximum weight the structure has to deal with. But yeah, another bit of maintenance I had to do was to add an actual roof inside the structure itself. The roof was to stop the structure's rightmost inner wall from folding in, but also so that once the roof was complete and leaves and things fell down on it, it would all conglomerate into a protective layer, keeping wind and snow out, so whoever is sleeping in the structure doesn't freeze to death. Once these maintenance changes were done, I began to actually upgrade the structure itself. The first major change was greatly reinforcing the sidewalls and adding extra supports horizontally and vertically, then extending this up into the roof. Overall, just stabilizing the entire build. Once this was done, I moved on to the second part. I grabbed a bunch of sticks, branches and stuff like that and just kind of weaved together the walls as to seal up gaps and make them smaller, as to make it easier for the building to retain leaves and other debris things that would fall on it to seal them up in the winter. And then finally, I proceeded to stuff the roof and walls with handfuls of dried leaves and grasses and other plant materials to reduce the wind and heat loss during the winter. So overall, in its current state, I can describe the structure as essentially just being a giant bird's nest. It's not perfect by any means. The signage that tells people it's not a toilet needs to be replaced. I should create something that goes on the floor to keep the resident off the floor and elevated, reducing heat loss in the winter because the ground surprisingly steals a lot of body heat. And because I'm not allowed to put a tarp on there, I could probably get some larger leaves, ideally tropical plant ones, to make the roof waterproof. But outside of all that, while the structure could definitely be better, it's a lot better than nothing. And with that, that's my update video on this shelter. See you around. Goodbye.